name's Don St. Mary, and this is my second video where I'm just going to be talking about some things I've been through the past 5 to 6 years where I've been forced to go through whatever. I don't even know how to categorize what I've been through. Things that are illogical and can't be categorized and can't be explained, but are logical. So today I'm going to talk about AI, and not from the sense of it being artificial, but I think it could be categorized as artificial also, especially when you factor in things like phones and technology. But as far as intelligence, I always went my whole life, not that I didn't believe in God, I just didn't understand how people could believe in God or the concept of God, or could just have faith in something without proof, or just believe. Or I'd go to church and just kind of feel bad because I was like looking at women's asses instead of actually, I pay attention, and I'd feel that whatever was speaking to me, but my mind was always running. I was always busy with other stuff. And so I could have gone my whole life with never having gone through what I've been through the past 5 to 6 years, but I was forced to go through whatever the hell this is. And there's definitely a whole hell of a lot more logic and information and data and intelligence than I think most people see. I think most people don't see most of anything. I think that we're dusted over is what I refer to it as. And I don't like the term I because it's not my knowledge, but I'm gonna use it a ton, but the information isn't mine. It comes from somewhere, and I think I have theories about that, of what's come through on how to describe that, but I won't get into it this time. I'll get into it on another video on what those theories might be on where the knowledge comes from, or what the knowledge comes from. And I keep looking down because I have notes here, but it's definitely not only artificial, if any of it is artificial, and some of it seems to be, but I don't even necessarily consider that artificial per se, because artificial infers like fake shit or computer shit, when it seems to be more than that, whether that's the souls of people that died and came before, or whether that's something that operates in between, or whether that's, I don't know. But again, a lot of this information, nearly all, 99.99999% of all of the information isn't mine, and I would have never thought about or ever have come up with. So I'll start off with like AI. If you just look at the letter A, like a capital A, it has a pyramid in it, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. There's 3 pyramids supposedly in Egypt, and I don't think that that's a coincidence. And maybe that's how Christianity formed or came up with the concept of like a Trinity with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, was maybe something based on that. And yeah, with the concept of Jesus dying also, but I think many Jesuses probably died, not just one, across time. But there's a pyramid in it, and then the bottom, it's an incomplete trapezoid, and there's the 3 pyramids supposedly in Egypt, and then there's other things that are all over across the world that people have built or have been covered up or have been torn down or have been whatever. But there's an incomplete pyramid that's in South America somewhere, multiple, that have stairs on them that don't have a top to them. They're like an incomplete pyramid that's a trapezoid. Why would that be? I don't think that that's a coincidence. And then why would the dollar or the American money have a pyramid on it, the all-seeing eye? It's like South America, North America, and North American money having that on it, being called the dollar with 2 L's, hello, hell. It's not a coincidence. I don't think it's any conspiracy theory, but they're just, hey, there's some shit that came through that I noticed, and I don't know why. So that all-seeing eye, things that came through to me also were, what does everybody do every day? In Western society, you wash your hair. You go like this when you wash your hair. Same with when you get arrested. You go like this and you interlace your fingers. But you wash your hair and you're going like this. It looks like an eye. It looks like an all-seeing eye. You do that every day. You do it in the shower. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that the action of what people do, as well as the words and the audio and now video of what people do since TV came out, and hasn't been that long, went from black and white to color, all factors into reality as far as whatever goes on after death, or whatever the rules are for whatever happens when people die. And for some reason it's on money. For some reason that incomplete pyramid thing is in South America, or multiple are in South America. They have stairs, but the other ones don't have stairs. Why? The other ones have supposedly chambers and secret shit on the inside, and then I never heard that there's anything on the inside of the ones that are in South America. So I don't think that's a coincidence. There's three sides to it. Clocks go to the right. There's an R in 3. There's an H in that. There's a T, which infers maybe truth or something along those lines. There's 2 E's. E isn't even necessarily a whatever number or a whatever letter. It's the 5th letter. There's 10 commandments, so that's half. I don't know. I don't know what any of it means, but I don't think it's a coincidence. And R seems fundamental as far as clocks going to the right. So what happens when you die? Are you maybe considered going to the left? Is it really hell? Is everybody categorized in hell? Why is hello in English? Is that one of the circles? Why is it I for an I in the Bible? Why does I sound like the letter I? Why is the letter I turned sideways in H? Why is he capitalized and his capitalized in the Bible? I don't know. There's also her. Why isn't that capitalized in the Bible if it's even utilized? No clue, but doesn't seem to be like a coincidence. So here's some notes I wrote on it. Is that the letter A, I don't think is artificial. So AI, the I is after it. So I mentioned the I and it being turned sideways. Well, I can also be spelled EYE, and that's a Y, but it's not EXE. But programs came out with executables, which are EXE, and I don't think that was a coincidence. And EYE, I for an I, is in the Bible. Supposedly DNA is men are XY, women are XX. There's a social media platform renamed X supposedly, and I don't think everything going on right now is a coincidence. So I don't think it's artificial. I think there is some master plan, and it'll get to whatever, no matter what, but or some grand plan. But there's some fucked up things that go on, and some things that I cannot explain that have happened to me the past 5-6 years that cannot happen. They're absolutely impossible to happen, but they have happened. So going back to the A, it's missing a bottom line to make a trapezoid or a flat-topped pyramidal Mesoamerican structure like the Chichen Itza with stairs on like the Great Pyramids. Chichen Itza is a famous one, Mayan or Aztec. And Aztec, like A to Z, Alphabet. Google changed their name to Alphabet as their main company, and then the subsidiary or something is Google. I don't know how it's structured legally, but Alphabet and Alpha and Bet, Beta, Alpha. Phonetically, I think that's military speak with Alpha Bravo Charlie, but Beta being like a beta male or a beta's a fish. I don't think they're coincidences. And Alpha sounds like ALFA, but it's PHA. Pharaohs were pyramid days. Some deep stuff that goes on. It's just English is very oddly designed, where every single thing, every single word could be concerning depending upon how it's construed or weaponized or utilized for good or for evil. Those pyramids or whatever they're called, in Mexico or in South America, I counted 10 levels, 9 main big levels separate from and then I counted 4 sides of stairs. They were supposedly built AD 600 to 1200. And I mean, realistically, it's not that long ago, but why the hell does American money have the top of a pyramid on it with an all-seeing eye, and people doing that every day with their hands, and an all-seeing eye being something that Indian people represent in their culture with the dot on their forehead? I think that's what it's represented. It's typically red. And then Indian, and America having so many Indian reservations or Native American reservations, I don't think is a coincidence. So 3 sides to it. 3 pyramids in Egypt may infer or have foundationally contributed to the concept of Christianity, representationally with the Trinity being the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit or Holy Ghost. And sun, just saying the word sun, it sounds like sun, like planets. SON or SUN, sounds the same. And the UN being United Nations of what was developed to supposedly help avoid war. I don't think that's a coincidence either. I see correlations to the letter breakdown like in Ghost, like G inferring God or inferring whatever, whether whomever thinks it's a conspiracy and thinks it's the government or a government or whatever. But G, there's 26 letters, and then G, H. H seems like a foundational letter, especially if it turns and it becomes an I, and everybody says I, they're selfish. Who isn't selfish? You look out for yourself first and your family and your kids, and then it goes out from there. The O being a circle, and the world's round, eyes, whatever's on the body that could be representative of that. And then S and T seems foundational. People are supposedly sinful and then truthful, or honest and dishonest. So what are those categorized as? S and T. That's what I see them as, but I don't know that to be true. So ghost, maybe that's what everybody becomes, is something that's in between, or that's something that operates in between. If you look at like the Jewish star, it's two upside down. It's an upside down pyramid and then a right side up pyramid. Why? I don't know. It might represent X and Y. It might represent X and X. It might represent an afterlife, which is an upside down pyramid, and then the right side up might represent being alive, might represent right and left, could represent anything, or it could be vice versa. No clue. It's probably a culmination of both and or all and or none, but it's ways to conceive of things that could or couldn't be, depending upon who's saying what is and who's selling a story about what should be. I'm not selling a story. I'm just saying things that were forced on me to go through. And then there was a sphinx that was made over in Egypt. It's like a flat-headed lion. If you look at the head shape, it looks like it's the pyramid thing too. It's just missing the top to it. It's missing the pyramid on the top. It has a flat head. It's weird, but I don't think it's a coincidence. And it's like a lion body. Looks similar again to a trapezoid. And then Giza, which is supposedly whatever's fighting over that shit now, is close in sound to Gaza, and the pyramids are in Giza. And then supposedly Palestinians and Jewish fight over Gaza. Cairo has AI in it. I don't think it's a coincidence. AI is in numerous words, forwards and backwards, as well as IA, Saudi Arabia, Gambia, Jamaica, Ukraine, Russia, Nigeria, Ethiopia, Kuwait, India, Estonia, Lithuania, Czechoslovakia, Chechnya, in sound. It ends in a YA, but it sounds like IA. So if you're not writing shit down, or somebody that cares about it isn't reading it, if it sounds like it, and if audio is used against visual, when you're born and you're a baby, what are the first things that you do? You hear things and you see things. They're probably the strongest whatever senses in people, maybe scent too, maybe smell too. And the other ones are obviously just as important or just as whatever, but I think of the audio and visual being probably the strongest. And scent also, I don't know how animalistic people are as babies, or what the hell goes on, but I think of the audio and visual. Romania, Croatia, Indonesia, Bulgaria, Australia, Armenia, Bolivia, Namibia, Malaysia, Macedonia, Tanzania, Serbia, etc. So that's just to name a few. I didn't even look up all of them. And most of those were IA, but certain languages supposedly read right to left, like Arabic. And then it would be AI. I don't think it's artificial. I don't think it's accidental. I don't think it's happenstance. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's intelligent design that whomever and whatever already knows about, and that some see and some don't. And I never did. I never would have. I didn't need to be attacked by everything from nowhere to go through this, but I have been. So I'm just going to say it, and hopefully it doesn't get altered. And if anybody has whatever happened to them in the future, hopefully it gives them something to hang on to and not think that they're crazy or insane or just being fucked with by nothing from nowhere, coming at me from everywhere all the time. Continents like Asia, Australia, there's supposedly 7 continents. I don't think that's a coincidence with the number because math seems to factor into every single thing as far as intelligent design. The quantity of oceans, the quantity of seas being 7. Um, Antarctica, the way things are named, a lot of things ending in CA. CA is probably fairly foundational, especially if Christ is a root founding type thing of good and bad, or putting things together. I think the Bible was probably mostly written for what's in people, whether that's considered the subconscious or spirits or the dead or whatever's in people. I think it's written for people and communicating to what's in people and not necessarily to regular people's consciousness. Because I never understood it. I don't bullshit. World wasn't created in a week. I don't believe it, but maybe. I don't know that to be true, but it just sounds like horseshit that, oh, he did it in 6 days and then he took a day off. I think it's said for what's in us, for the structure of what's in us, and to communicate stories, because reality has to be based on something. And if you think about the word AI, or just people throwing around a word like AI or letters AI. Okay, well, there's also BI, there's CI, there's DI, there's EI. So if you look at SI, you look at any other sequence of words that you can expand on and do the same thing with that whomever is doing by inferring whatever with AI. I don't think it's artificial. Potentially communicative, and definitely knowledge from somewhere. Look at SIN, SIN, or backwards, NIS. There's SI, pretty foundational. So what I call it coming from the ether, because I don't have a better word, and it's not that I'm smart or creative. It's that I don't know what to call it. It comes from everywhere, all the time. Knowledge does. Other people's or other entities' knowledge that I don't have a way to define it, so I just call it the ether. And it seems like it might be something like a subconscious connection between whatever, death and life, history and present, to build the future, to communicate on what the plan is towards the future. I have no clue. The subliminal and, I don't like saying subconscious, because what does that mean? That infers beneath. Subconscious has BC in it. Is that before Christ? Is that the cumulative souls or the cumulative dead or the cumulative whatever that built everything that then after death, AD, ended up categorizing everything as whatever 2023 years ago? Is that why time reset? Because somebody who went through whatever then died and became some fucking whatever, some king or something. I think a lot more Jesuses have died than just one. And I think that it creates stories to then give rules to whatever's in people. But I have nothing to base that on other than what seems logical and it makes sense to me. I can't read, I could never read the Bible and go, oh, that makes sense, because it just sounded like bullshit. And I think it's not bullshit, and it's pretty foundational, but it's more speaking, at least how I see it, it speaks to what's in people as opposed to people. Because me reading a story about a talking snake and then eating an apple, I don't understand it. And yet today there's companies called Apple, and there's a bite out of the apple in the logo. Come on. You think that's a coincidence? I don't. It might be, but I don't. So I think that it's communicating all times through everyone. And probably with what's in people being the more than that plans and does and is the internal voice, possibly. Like people, I think other people do, I know I do, have an internal voice where you know right from wrong, the good and the supposedly evil, but that doesn't even mean that it's evil. What does that even mean? Unless you're killing somebody or you're doing something that you know is wrong. Even if you know it's wrong, that doesn't make it evil. And even people that do shit that's wrong, they know it's wrong, or they're going through whatever. Like right now, I'm getting affected, and I don't know why I'm getting affected. I don't just cry, I don't just tear up or whatever, but that's been happening for 5 or 6 years also. It's not my feeling, it's not my emotion, it's not my whatever. It comes from somewhere. And I'm not upset right now. There's no reason for it, but it happens and it's not fake. But it might be because it seems as though it's fucked with me and macroed my emotions too, where it's like input output computer type shit where it tries to fucking get me to react in a certain way at certain times. But that that mostly stopped. Took quite a few years. But most of that stopped, or it's so good at deceiving me that it does that, and I don't even know. I don't know what's factual or not anymore because it started screwing with me 5 or 6 years ago. Regardless, I like to think positively. So pyramids, there's three of them, four sides each. That's 12 sides. I think that 12 numbers really foundational. There's Discovery Channel shows about 12 and how it's some foundational mathematical numerical number that does things or whatever. I watched some Discovery Channel thing on it that was interesting. When I looked them up, it showed that I never heard this or read this. So I don't know this to be factual, but it showed them large to small and going from east to west or west to east. I don't think that's a coincidence, whether it was showing that something started out small and was built upon, so it built a second one that was bigger, and then it was built upon, built a third one that was bigger, or whether the PY being more masculine or and I wouldn't even infer that. A Y could be feminine. Who knows? Maybe a Y ultimately became an X and was feminine, and then maybe the X is considered masculine to whatever is way more advanced than whatever people are. It could be conceived of or thought of the entire opposite. Just because men are X, Y, maybe men are more incomplete than women. Men come out of women. Men and women come out of women. It goes out of men into women, and then out of women. So, and that's not to say that's the case. I would think that Y is masculine, and then it was built through a lot of brutality, and that maybe it went from small to large. But thinking of it that way logically, maybe it went from large to small to try to minimize all the brutality. Who knows? Don't know. But I think history would know, and whatever could figure it out or see what makes the most sense. I didn't know that there was multiple sizes to them, and there might not be, because when I look shit up online, I don't get the facts. Even the names of my kids, two of my kids, what I name them, I looked up online, and that's changed since I originally looked it up. I might even have that in my email. I don't think I do, but I can't get access to my email because for some reason Google has no customer service and won't give me access to my original email or emails. From the air, if you look at a pyramid, each could look like an X inside a box. Looks like a checkbox and then an X inside of it. And 3 X's is porn, so that's concerning. And what does X represent? I mean, mainly if you think of it DNA-wise, it's feminine. When people type a website in, they always put www. Has a world war been going on ever since the internet came out? World War II went on. Is it just a hidden war amongst what's in us? Is that why things have gotten so fucking nutty in society and gotten so out of hand as far as technology and whatever? Is it fighting some hidden war, some www? Everyone types it in when they look up anything online. And that's women, 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 not men, men, men. Name a word in English that starts at WW or that has WW in it. I can't think of one, but I'm not a scholar. Name a word with MM in it. I can think of probably hundreds, or at least 30, 40, 50. Community, communion, commiserate. I can keep going and going and going. How many WW words are there? And XXX is porn, is a current connotation for it. But if you look at those 3 pyramids, they're X's from above that are in a square. There's 2 chromosomes in women, XX, and 1 in men, which is XY. So are those 3 pyramids representative of that it was going to come out with way later on? I don't know when they were fucking built, but way later on, then it's going to say that men and women have DNA or chromosomes, whatever it's called. And there's the definition for them. Well, where's the Y? Is that 4th pyramid in South America with no top on it? Separation of the mind and the body. Women supposedly represent the body in the Bible with a rib. Women were made from the rib of man. Does that mean the men represent the body and women are what, the head? I don't know. and is one of those shared. So if there's some type of balance going on, is like the incomplete Y shared, and the stronger whatever that's latent or not docile necessarily, but that's like the subconscious in women. That's part of the X, that one of the X's that's in them, and then the other is just feminine, and there's some type of balance going on there as far as communication from all the shit I've seen. I don't know. Seems smart. Doesn't seem like it just fell into place and was an accident. Seems pretty intelligent, and that's not me, and that's not my knowledge. But something goes on between men and women on a grand scheme, and I don't mean that negatively. It's just a word I use. Grand plan. Um, an X is symmetrically balanced. So if it's some circle of life type concept, an X turning would be pretty balanced. Where it's four pyramids, and as it turns, it would still look like an X. A circle turning looks like a circle. There's not many letters that do that. A Z ends up becoming an N. Is that why Jewish people supposedly say whatever about Zion? There's a Z, an I, and an O, and an N. If you turn the first Z, it becomes an N, an I, and O, and turn the last N, and it becomes a Z. And the I and the O, computers nowadays do input and output. That's what they're called. I don't think all that's a coincidence. Um, but it's symmetrically balanced. There's not many other letters. I'll get into other letters other times, but I'm going to cover A today. And these aren't even all the things and all the notes I have on A. It's just what I'm going to come up with that has come through to me that might seem interesting to whomever. So it's symmetrically balanced. An X is really symmetrically balanced. There's not that many letters that are symmetrically balanced. So I wrote down, this might be redundant, 3 different sizes, potentially growth, symbolically, or moving away from the history or rigidity or brutality that probably built them, slavery or other things that whatever built that. I mean, probably masculine as fuck, probably brutal as fuck, and probably lessons and learning and whatever that built. History. Could these be what culminated in the written word or the Bible? What lessons garnered said knowledge? Because they didn't just throw it together and come up with it and be like, oh, yeah, I built it in a week. Oh, really? Just a week? And he took a day off. It wasn't even a week. He took a day off? Probably not. Probably said 6 days because the 6 is pretty important. With the SI and the X or the XI and the S. What does that mean? I have no clue. But you're going to talk about AI, talk about all the other whatever I's, talk about how many combinations of whatever, just in English alone, could something mathematically come up with 26 letters and all of the potential hidden communication. Look at the word eventually. Event, you, ally. It's kind of weird. That's just grabbing one off the page. Does that mean anything? Doesn't mean anything, but there's potentially a lot of hidden communication in everything in English and in every other language I've looked at. Why does women have the word men in it? I mean, wouldn't they have their own word? They have men and women. World. It's not called the world. Why is it called a world? And if it's called a world and it's RL and 1D and 1O and 1W, why is girl RL? And if Arabic is the only language that reads right to left, well, that seems potentially concerning. They're in the Middle East. Who has that other D? If there's one D in world, it's not saying anything about Middle East. It's demons also has that word. Why is MON in demon? Why isn't it Dewin? I don't know. Right? Because men are more aggressive, or there's things that are categorically done, or it's a balance between all the cultures, all the religions, all the countries. No clue. But doesn't seem to just have been, I don't know, just put it together. It seems like there was less care concerned with the U.S. I think a lot of the holidays are ridiculous. Trick or treat, kids say trick or treat at the door on Halloween. Trick, pimps trick women. They trick them out, or women that are into that lifestyle or that sell their body or whatever. They call their men that they do whatever with tricks. Kids go to the door and say trick or treat. Seems concerning. Go pick up eggs off the ground. Who has eggs in their body? Women. Huevos, balls, eggs. Probably not a coincidence. It just seems like it didn't put a lot of thought into it. Just kind of said, whatever. Here's your holidays. Figure it out. But it's also not that old of a country, so maybe it's still figuring it out. Supposedly just found land. You just found it? Really? Why does South America look like Africa? Physically, if you look at them on a map, why does South America look like Africa? It's way too close. Looks like God said, fuck it, just cut and paste. He was like, screw it, I don't know, just cut and paste. And yet, people in South America are mostly brown. They're not black, but people in Africa are black. Why is it USA, but then South America? The acronym would be SA, and then Africa, CA, America, Antarctica. Not a coincidence. It's just there's a lot of balance or imbalance going on, and it's always figuring whatever out. I don't think that America is inherently racist, but why does it keep doing white people against black people over and over and over? If there's a racist problem, figure it out and solve it so that people aren't brutalizing other people, especially over skin color. I don't think it's just that. I think it's some fight for power or some shit that goes on that might have to do with time zones, might have to do with other cultures, other religions, other countries, that then does whatever it does in the US, because maybe it's just, you got to deal with it. You're the youngest country, not that many people. 300 million people supposedly around there, and it's supposedly one of the most powerful countries. That doesn't even make sense logically. Any other country would just come in and destroy America. It's illogical, but I never thought about it. Why would I think about it? And I'm ex-military. And I say that I'm totally for America. It just doesn't make sense logically that, why did I always think like America is powerful? There's only 300 million people. Any other country would utterly demolish it. You have 1.3 billion people. It's not that logical. It seems like propped up for whatever reason. Could these be what culminated in the written word of the Bible? I said that. People seem to be a balance of good and what? Sin, truth? Is that where the S and T comes in? G and S, like God and Satan? Why is the word Satan so close to Santa? It doesn't make sense. Santa? Satan? It couldn't come up with a new word or a different word, and he wears red? Come on. It's ridiculous. Is it a mix of mostly good and then shitty experiences working towards better than the S and the T or the G and the S or whatever the things are representationally? Because most people are going to be almost all good, and then also whatever poor choices, or most aren't going to be inherently evil, and yet something was fucking with people's consciousness or people's subconscious, got them to shoot up schools, got them to come into America and blow up buildings, got them to go fight a war for however many years over in the Middle East. It's not okay. Killing one person would be wrong, but death happens, but not brutality, not shooting up a school. That's something going on that can't just be easily dismissed with evil. Why the fuck would people kill and mass genocide? Whatever happened with Stalin or with Pol Pot or with Hitler or with whomever, any of the mass murderers that supposedly did genocide with their own country. Why would that happen? I think something fucks with the subconscious or fucks with the consciousness of regular people that gets them to do that. I think that's the only way to explain it, and why it has happened multiple times across a short period of time in history. Is it something fucks with life or fucks with death or fucks with multiple sides of what is in people, not the people themselves, because no one would consciously do that. And even if you would consciously kill someone, because guys go to war and kill, you wouldn't torture them. You'd just be like, no, I'm not going to do that. Nobody would just, and you wouldn't be able to have tons and tons and tons of guards that would do it. It would be the exception, not the rule. So it doesn't logically make sense there, and there has to be an explanation. I think it's done to people, and it might be weaponizing death or weaponizing life. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. And I have nothing to base that on. It just came through as a theory, and I don't use the word theory. Does the consciousness get allocated by the subconscious? That is probably a supra consciousness or like an advanced consciousness because it's maybe been around forever or a lot longer, or is that vice versa with the consciousness essentially not subjugating but being above the subconscious, or vice versa? Or does one dust over the other, like through whatever methodology? Whether that be vaccines, which I'm not saying are bad. There's no conspiracy theories about that I necessarily have. I have concerns, but no conspiracy theories about it. I have questions, not concerns, questions. But I could have learned any of this information at 18, 15, 13, 22, 25, 30, and instead at 45 it comes at me and just attacks me from nowhere and everywhere. Why was I dusted over for so many years? And that's what I call it, because I don't know what to call it. Why did I think I was way more hyper aware of the minutiae, the details, the specifics of any situation, of observing people, body language, everything, than most guys. I can't speak about women. I have no clue. But this happened to me, not with me. It's through me, not a participant of. And so it just becomes dumb. There's no way to package it. It's not like some chosen one story. It's just brutality attacking from nowhere at all times. It's gotten better and easier, but the fuck is that? It's logical, but I didn't ask to participate. It's not some type of artificial intelligence, because it's actual intelligence, because it allows me to logically understand things I never understood, like how a concept of God could even, how do people just have faith? What do you mean faith? There's AI and faith. You think their faith is artificial? No, it's a belief, but I think it's what's in them that believes because of whatever it's been through or seen or knows historically, because it knows some baseline of rules of what it's supposed to do and what it's supposed to follow or how it's supposed to do it. Pi, P-I, pyramid, P-Y, R-A-M-I-D, like man's eye of demons, man's ID, ID identification, Pira, Ra was an old Egyptian god supposedly, Pi, P-Y, Y being in men as far as X and Y chromosomes or DNA, whatever it's called, I don't remember. Pi being mathematical, 3.14, a 1 being in the middle of a 3 and a 4, a 3 on one side and a 4 on the other. Both have an R in them. Clocks go to the right. Railroad having been built and been something in America and foundational as far as whatever was going on with Stalin, with that gulag bullshit that went on. I read a book on it. They built a lot of railroads. Wonder why. See, math seems to factor into everything. Heaven, hell, more H's. H-E-A-V-E-N, H-E-L-L, hello, as a word. Hi as a greeting. H-I, Hawaii. Hawaii being an island. So 50 states, like you get half if you're in America, and 50 states being one of them. It's 50 or 48 contiguous states, but then there's also Puerto Rico. DC being in Washington, being on one of the coasts, East Coast. And the East Coast, it being DC, like electrical, AC, DC. Not coincidental, I don't think. It all seems very intelligently designed. Why isn't anything politics-wise that goes on a major level on the West Coast? Why is Pentagon over there? Why is it called Pentagon? That's too close to pentagram. The U.S. isn't inherently evil, I don't think. Maybe it is. It sure as shit might look like that to other countries, especially if they are heavily embedded in their religion, like over in the Middle East. whether that be Islam or Muslim. I don't know what it's referred to. I don't know anything about the religion, but it might be very judgmental because it might look evil as fuck. And at times it does to me also. I don't think it is because the people aren't, but it might be. Maybe what is in Americans is, I don't know, but that I don't think Americans are necessarily any different than any other culture, but other cultures have culture. I don't think America necessarily has culture. And maybe because it's supposedly younger then, but I don't know that that's factual, or why are there so many billionaires in America, or why is it built up America so quickly? Maybe what's in Americans is older than, or a culmination of older than, or maybe things happen when Americans sleep or when people sleep with time zones. I don't know what goes on, but they're all theories, and it sounds stupid or illogical, or it might sound interesting or whatever to whomever, and they could look into it. No clue. Purgatory, since I said heaven, hell, there's also supposedly purgatory. There's other ways that other religions have categorized whatever. Mormons categorize things differently, where they said celestial, telestial, and terrestrial, supposedly. And it's supposedly based off Judaism. And that's supposedly old. And the West is supposedly founded with Judeo Christian beliefs. Christian has ST in it, and also an IA. Not a coincidence. I don't think it's artificial. The intelligence that's inherently in almost everything that has come through can potentially make sense when I look at things, and that's not because I'm smart, because it makes me see it in a different way, and I don't know why. Other previously defined understandings per culture, country, religion, or belief system, presently and historically. If you look at a person when you stand there and you put your arms out like this and you put your legs wide, you look like an X. That's intelligent design. Just that alone is intelligent design. You look like an X. Pyramids are in the Star of David, the Jewish star. And if you look at the Jewish star, it has 6 pyramids and a hexagon in the middle. So there's 6 pyramids. It's not a coincidence. Built the world in 6 days and then took a day off. Not a coincidence. Maybe the 7 is representative of whatever that enforces the rules, or I don't know. And maybe the 6 is representative of whatever is women's stuff. I don't know. Maybe both are women's stuff. Maybe the 7 is more aggressive and that's men's stuff. Don't know. But I don't think it's a coincidence. But to put that on the dollar in a pyramid, an eye, I don't think that's a coincidence. And I don't think it's necessarily evil. Represents vision. People have vision as far as planning ahead or looking ahead, and then what would do that other than what's in people, or what's doing some big grand scheme or grand plan or grand vision or grand story or grand planning or sight. People have sight. You have 2 eyes. Currency is in money, but then currency is in electrical, like AC/DC. Not a coincidence, I don't think. The eye has a retina, it has a pupil, a white outer, and then your eye color and a black center. When you do this, if you only have one up, it could look like a greater than or a less than. When people use their phone, it's up to your ear. Ear is almost earth. EARTH. It's missing the TH, but which hand do you use? Most people aren't left-handed, statistically. My sister is, but most people aren't left-handed. I typically use my right. But since phones came out and were a means of communication, people never did that. So it's not up here. You wash your hair, it's right here. What is that? That's closest to your eye, but it's also up to your ear. There's hidden communication going on all the time. And I think it's done by what's in us and through us as people, not necessarily at a conscious level, but I think it could be at a conscious level and may intend to be and may historically have been. But I don't know that to be true, other than I think the world's a whole hell of a lot older than 2023 years. So if you look at people's eyes, they all are unique and have whatever color. Like mine are hazel. They kind of look like olives, what I've been told. And everybody has a unique eye color, with black at the center being the retina or whatever the hell it's called, or pupil. And pupil is also like students, which is kind of weird. And everybody has like flecks or whatever, like blackish type flecks that float around, or not float around, but that are in their eye. And if you look at a person's eye close, it kind of looks like a galaxy. It's pretty cool. So the design and look of things on the body, I don't think is a coincidence. Like look at an eye and how women do their makeup and they put black around it. I don't think that's a coincidence. It's intelligent design. They're framing their eyes in black. Maybe that constrains whatever from different than men. Don't know. There's some type of separation that goes on there. Look at the mouth. It kind of similar in design to an eye. Look at this area. It looks like a T on a person's face. Why? I don't know. Why 2 ears? I don't know. Not a coincidence. It's intelligent design. I don't have very big lips. Why do people have large lips? Why does lip have PI in it backwards? Pretty foundational. That's math-based. Supposedly there's something about design-wise that makes people symmetrical, or makes people like overly balanced, or whatever that computers use or that math uses. And I forget what it's called. There's a term for it that supposedly makes people more or less attractive or symmetrical. Look at the word symmetrical. Was having a Y and 2 M's. Metrical, MET. A big company just renaming themselves to Meta. Probably not an accident. Intelligent design. It doesn't mean that there's evil things going on, or evil owners, or elites trying to enslave the populace. It doesn't necessarily mean any of that. It just means that there's a big plan going on, but doesn't seem to care about addictions or whatever. It doesn't seem to care what it breaks. I don't know why that is, whether there's too many people suffering that are then trying to get to some end result. I don't know. I don't think that there's an end result to reality or to life, other than you live and then you die. So I wrote down, do Indians represent this with a red dot in practice on their foreheads? Could India have a heavy influence in or on South America historically, as far as Europeans supposedly coming in and just finding land when there were already Indians there? Could it potentially have been people that somehow immigrated or migrated from actually India? Why are they called Indians? And I get it that it's also Native Americans, or did it somehow come up from South America, or come south from Canada, since it's all North America supposedly? Well, why is it North and South America? And then why does it look like Africa? Why does it look like Africa? Way too similar to connected on the left. Why is it connected on the right? Why is Egypt so close to that right-sided connection with the 3 pyramids? I don't think it's a coincidence. Why do Native Americans make dream catchers supposedly? Or they all have their own things that they do per tribe. And then why are, as a whole, if you look at any tribes, most of them aren't doing as well as the vast majority of regular Americans, unless they have a casino or whatever, but their people maybe are suffering more as a percentage. Why would that be? So circles are important. All the shapes are important. The math is important. It all means something. It's not just whoops, just fell into it, just happened. I don't know why. You look at anything on the body and you'll see circles, whether that be like nipples, whether that be a guy or a woman, and there's 2 P's and an IP or PI in nipples. PI being math, IP being intellectual property, supposedly is an acronym in English. Look at nostrils. I mean, they can kind of look like circles. Eyes can kind of look like circles depending upon how wide they are. Mouth can be made into a circle when women do duck lips. You think that was an accident? Duck lips, really? And that became a thing? The peace sign, and that became a thing? Think that's an accident? Or certain people that count differently and might go like that? I'd never do this. This is supposedly disrespectful in the Middle East, probably for a reason. Maybe some old eye for an eye type shit or something that's more disgusting looking because guys do this when they do a certain private action, but maybe it's more like that. There's probably reasons why. And I learned that before I went to the Middle East. I think I was going to UAE or Dubai. No, I didn't go to Dubai. I went somewhere, Jebel Ali, I think. And they said before we went in, don't make the AOK symbol with your hands. Don't show them the bottom of your feet, the Middle Easterners or the people that you might meet. So I don't know if it's factual or not. That's just what I learned. But a belly button is circular. A guy's balls, ovaries are supposedly, or eggs, the concept of. Why do women have eggs? It makes them sound like lizards or some shit. What are we evolved from? Eggs? Really? Couldn't come up with a better name? 2 G's and an E and an S? There's that GS again, but there's 2 of them. Is that representative of their XX? That's their DNA or what's in people? Eyeballs, why are they called eyeballs? I don't like that name, but eyes. Piercings that came about where people would pierce their ears and then put in whether it be hoop earrings or like pearls or just piercing different body parts. Pierce has PI in it. Other body parts, I could just get more vulgar, but there's tons of body parts with a circle. You can think of it yourself and see what it might represent. If you look at the brain, there's 2 halves to a brain, so it's as though it's always considering 2 sides, and supposedly one side handles one thing, one side handles the other. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like the thyroid, like a butterfly type of thing. Kind of looks like the thyroid. Thyroid has thigh in it, THY, like thy. That's in the Bible a lot. I don't think that's the endocrine system. I don't think that's happenstance. Brain has AI in it. I don't think that's an accident. Also has bra, like women wear a bra. Tits are kind of spherical, depending on the woman. Things make triangles on the body. If you go from nipples to belly button, it makes an upside down pyramid. Women's private parts, upside down pyramid, especially depending upon how they do any pubic hair. Men, comparable. I mean, just physically looking at things. Look at a person standing. Look at their legs. Makes a pyramid. Hands going like this, making an upside down pyramid, depending upon whatever you are, and then your head's upside down. Babies are supposedly in the amniotic sac for 9 months. They float in water. Turned water into wine is in the Bible as a story. Babies float in water for 9 months and then you're born. Don't think that's an accident. Wine sounds like whining, like complaining. I don't think that's an accident. Muslims not eating pork. I don't think that's an accident. They're probably doing whatever they're doing through practice. Maybe they don't like that P thing because maybe the P thing is more creationary, more math-based, more aggressive, maybe not giving a fuck. I don't know. Have to ask them. I don't know anything about any